All right, are the parties here on the cases that we're waiting for them to bring your guy up, and then as soon as they bring him up, we will take your case right away. Anybody else who's ready, just approach the clerk and have her put the file up and I'll call your case.
Richard Thomas.
Richard Thomas, come forward, please. Yes.
Richard Anthony Thomas.
But yeah.
Oh, no. I just need the file. There's nothing that needs to be prepared.
Thank you for letting me know.
Sure, no problem.
You said you need another finance?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, just making sure that I didn't want to change it without.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I changed it there.
I would never.
All right, if you'll come around. Your case is going to be reset for August 8th. And if you'll have your client sign it. Oh, it's August 8th. If there's an issue, then just file a motion and we'll change it. All right, who's next?
morning, Judge.
Yes. Who do you have? What's his name?
Mr. Casanova Paez, Jonathan.
It just says, went into someone's home, you entered in and just.
All right, if you'll come around, your case is reset for August 8th for jury trial. If you'll sign that, please,
Thank you, Your Honor.
and just turn it back in.
Is there one just a big one? Same degree and the same. Right, even how it was invited.
Who do you have?
Jesse Hinaho.
All right, Jesse Hinaho.
I don't know, you know.
All right, you're reset for August 8th. Just sign that and turn it in, and then you're excused. You're welcome. Thank you.
But then we just have to make sure that it's the same, using the same statute.
Thank you.
Mr. McLean, who are you here for?
Recall Manuel Sandoval.
Right behind you.
I don't know if he showed up yet.
All right, what's the name?
Manuel Sandoval. He was on yesterday. He was recalled for today. He was sick and he's supposed to bring a note.
Yes. All right, he's not here.
Okay.
These are done.
I'm going to be on over in Probation 1 doing the commitment hearings. So if he shows, just have normal.
Oh,
text
well,
me.
let's just put this on the record.
Got it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, Deputy Laura, can you make an announcement for Manuel Sandoval in the hallway, please? And could I have a prosecutor? Court is calling 2023 CR 3142, State of Texas versus Manuel Sandoval. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Daniel Escobar for the state of Texas.
For the
David McLean for Manuel Sandoval.
All right, this hearing was set yesterday at 9 a.m. The defendant was a no-show. Defense counsel informed the court that his client said that he was ill. The court asked that the court be provided with documentation of his illness. Counsel, have you received any documentation from your client?
I have not, Your Honor, and for the record, I did call my client yesterday, left a message. I did not speak to him. I informed him that his case had been recalled for this morning and that he needed to bring medical documentation, but I have not had any return call from the client.
All right. Deputy Laura, did you make an announcement for Manuel Sandoval?
Yes, I did. It's out there.
State?
State would ask for a bond forfeiture, Judge.
All right, that'll be granted. Your client will be remanded without bond. If your client makes an appearance, the court will, of course, reconsider.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, and be sure to have your client bring documentation.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, who's here on Bailey Corley? Are you all ready?
We are.
Court is calling 2023 CR 2218, State of Texas versus Bailey Alexander Corley. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Daniel Escobar for the state of Texas.
Defense?
Douglas Kaplan.
All right, and are you Bailey Corley?
Yes, ma'am.
Counsel, have you received all the discovery and did you review it with your client?
Yes, ma'am.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Mr. Bailey, I'm showing you what's entitled application for deferred adjudication or community supervision. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you sign it?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm showing you what's entitled true bill of indictment. Did you review that with your attorney? Did
Yes,
you
sir.
understand it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
We do.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
We are, Judge.
All right, I'm going to show you what's entitled court admonishments and defendant's waivers and affidavit of admonitions. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand you're charged with the offense of possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 1 gram to 4 grams? That's a third-degree felony. The range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 10 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea bargain agreement. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call in the right to remain silent?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand by entering this plea bargain agreement, you were giving up those rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea in this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand if the court were to grant your application for deferred adjudication, if for any reason your deferred adjudication were revoked, the court could find you guilty and sentence you up to 10 years in prison
Yes, Your Honor.
and up to a $10,000 fine?
Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you believe he has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you believe he's currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
I believe so.
Mr. Corley, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea?
No, Your Honor.
Has anyone promised you anything other than the plea?
No.
Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived his right to jury trial. Showing you the plea bargain page. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, Your Honor.
According to the plea, there's a $1,500 fine and the state recommends deferred adjudication. Did you understand that to be the plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
State,
Yes, Your Honor.
defense?
Yes.
Showing you the paragraph entitled waiver of appeal paragraph. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in both places?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand?
Yes, Your
Counsel, are there any such motions?
Honor. No, ma'am.
Next, I'm showing you outside the plea bargain agreement. The state is requesting that your deferred adjudication be for a term of 4 years and there be a TAP evaluation. Did you understand those are recommendations from the state and the court does not have to follow those recommendations? Then to the offenses charged in the indictment, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
State any evidence
State offers State Exhibit 1 in all attachments.
No objection, Your Honor.
showing you what's entitled wavering consent to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, Your Honor.
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call and the right to remain silent?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements, police reports, and lab reports? But most importantly, there'll be no live testimony. Did you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence State's Exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. All right, after reviewing State's Exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty. The court will defer finding of guilt as you've applied for deferred adjudication. Are you asking that we proceed with sentencing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything you wish to say on behalf of your client?
This is my client's been in custody for a while. He's sorry about the incident. It just was acting like a young kid at the time, and it's really woken him up, Your Honor.
How old are you, Mr. Bailey?
I'm 22 years of age.
Do you have any children?
I do not have any children.
Do you have employment?
I do have an employment. As of today, I do not know though, because I have been incarcerated.
All right, and I see you were incarcerated because you didn't show for your court appointment,
Yes,
your
ma'am.
court hearing.
To be honest, I didn't even know I had a court date set.
All right. Whenever people say to be honest, and with all due respect, when they start things with that, what's usually coming back after that comma is usually not respect, usually not honesty. So never say in all honesty, just say, I didn't know about the hearing. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So do you live by yourself or with someone?
I live with my mom and my stepdad.
And what do you do?
I do consolidation packaging for Hollingsworth Inc.
How far did you go in school?
I went to 10th grade and got a GED, Your Honor.
Okay. There's no shame in that. Don't say that with shame.
No, man, no shame at all.
I know people who have their GEDs that are now judges, clerks. So there's no shame in getting a GED. That just shows that you wanted it very badly and you went and got it.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So what are you doing with cocaine?
It was just personal use at the time, ma'am.
Why are you using cocaine?
I just wanted to see how it was at the time. It wasn't nothing
Is
else.
that what young people are doing now? You should know that cocaine is not good for you. You should know marijuana is not good for you. I don't care what people are doing where they say, oh, everybody's using marijuana. Marijuana doesn't hurt you. And now people, since marijuana is legal in certain places, people are doing some strange things with marijuana, adding strange things that make it not 100% natural. So you shouldn't be using cocaine. And I know your parents don't want you living with them using cocaine. So do you have a drug problem?
I do not have a drug problem.
All right. How often were you using marijuana?
I actually stopped January 1st of this year.
When you're on probation in Texas, you're not allowed to use any type of controlled substances. And if you are using drugs, they better be with a prescription, your prescription. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you're on probation, you're not allowed to drink alcohol at all either. You understand?
Yes.
So has your mom been visiting you at the jail, or have you been calling her, running up her bill?
No, ma'am, I have not. My mom does not have a phone and she is not in the right state of mind either.
What do you mean she's not in?
Schizophrenia and Tourette's, and she is a drug user herself.
All right. So is that really a good place for you to be?
No, ma'am, and I do stay with my girlfriend sometimes, like mainly most of the time I'm with her.
Does she have any children?
She does not have any children. We just have fur babies.
Oh, fur babies? Should I trust you with a fur baby?
Yes, ma'am, you should.
Okay. All right, the court is going to sentence you to 4 years deferred adjudication. There's going to be a $1,500 fine, probated. 150 hours community service restitution, regular reporting by Zoom or in person. We're going to do random UAs, or he can do the patch. The patch costs more, but it helps if you have time constraints. For example, with the patch, they just put it on you. And then when it's time for it to be removed, they will call you in and they will remove it. You don't remove it. You understand?
Yes, sir.
But with random UAs, they're just going to call you and say, come in, do a UA. Proof of employment within 30 days of release. There should be no employment as a home health care provider or with minors. So are you going to be living with your mother and stepfather? Or are you going to be living with this girlfriend?
Be staying with my girlfriend. It's probably the best option for me.
All right. We'll do field visits 1 time per month for 3 months. And probation, if everything is okay with the field visits, you can discontinue them. Now, I'm going to ask you now, do you need any help with your drug issues? If you need help with your drug issues, the court will recommend outpatient treatment for you. But if you're telling me you don't have any drug issues and you have it under control yourself and you're not going to use again and you don't want the treatment, I won't give it to you. But if you do that, don't come back to the court saying, oh yeah, I do have a drug treatment. Do you understand? A drug issue. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because I write notes on this sheet of paper. So do you want any outpatient treatment?
I do not.
Okay.
Well, excuse me.
Probation, is there anything else he needs?
Your Honor, did you mention regular reporting via Zoom or in person?
Yes.
And no.
Is there anything else you need from the court to be successful on this probation? All right, I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because this is a plea bargaining agreement, because I followed your plea bargaining agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we can go off the record. Good luck to you from here on out. Everything that you do, you need to ask yourself, is this something that could result in me going to prison for 10 years? If the answer is yes, don't do it. If the answer is maybe, don't do it. All right, good luck to you. If he completes everything early, the court will consider early termination. All right, thank you. Thank you. Alexander Williams. Could I see the file on Alexander Williams? Deputy Mejia, can you have Mr. Williams sign this? Do you need a pen?
No,
Mr. Williams, we're currently in trial, so we're going to bring you back on August 8th for your trial. So once you sign that, they're going to take you back. Do you have any questions? All right, thank you.
Judge, I think that's it for us.
All right, thank you. Oh, wait a second. There is. Oh, yes, that is it for you. Yes,
Sorry, did you say the 22nd or the 8th?
August 8th. What's listed on the form?
August 22nd.
Oh, I'm sorry, August 22nd then. Thank you. Good morning. Have a good one. Bye, guys. State, do you all have your witness? Yes.
Judge, we filed a motion on limine. It's pretty standard.
We can hear that. You want to hear the motion on limiting first?
Yes, just give me one moment. Let me write this in the file. All right, sir, and the shirt in the box, what's your name? I'm sorry, what? All right, could I see the file on Raul Reyes? Deputy Laura, can you have Mr. Reyes sign this? Mr. Reyes, we're going to bring you back on July 25th for your jury trial. We're currently in a trial. So once you sign this, they'll take you back. And your attorney is aware. Sure.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I got my bond was revoked for picking up a misdemeanor.
All right. So what will end up happening if your bond is revoked because of a misdemeanor? Are you saying the misdemeanor court revoked it, or are you saying this court did?
This court did.
All right, so- Your attorney will have to file a motion and the court will hear it.
I think she said she had filed a motion last time we were here in March, so I don't know, I'm not sure if it's.
No.
She never did file.
What I'm telling you is I don't have a motion before me. So you'll have to speak to your, I'm not saying that she did not file it. What I'm telling you is I do not have a motion before me. So if your attorney wants that motion heard, just let me know and I'll hear it. Thank you. All right. And is Mr. Lamar here?
He just sat here, Your Honor.
All right, everyone, just give me one moment. Let me take this up. And there's someone, Harrison, in the waiting room?
That's Deputy Harrison. Is there another?
No. Are we ready to proceed on that? If not,
Not yet. I'm sorry.
no
Let me
problem.
Find out where the other person is.
All right, so I'm going to put Harrison back in the breakout room. Harrison, if you could show your video, please. I'm going to send you back to the waiting room. And Vashawn, if you ever want to join the Zoom, I can open up breakout rooms and put you in a breakout room with them to see if they're ready. All right, the court is calling 2020 CR 7353, State of Texas versus Wardell Lemon. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state? For the defense?
Diego Gonzalez and Lauren Moreno for Wardell Lemon.
And are you Mr. Lemon? All right, the court has a motion in limine. State, have you had a chance to review the motion in limine?
We have Your Honor.
State?
We have no objections.
All right, so if you all will make sure that you approach. And then the next thing we are taking up is the outcry witness, is that correct?
That's
Yes.
correct.
All right, and who would that be? All right, if you'll take the stand here, please.
Yeah. Just moving the mic to.
All right, thank you. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you keep your voice up so the court reporter can hear. Will you state your name for the record and please spell it?
Linda Kinney, that's Lynda, and then Kinney, Keenney.
All right, state.
Okay, Ms. Keeney, how do you know the complainant in this case, Madison Keeney?
She's my stepdaughter.
And in what year did you meet Madison?
It was 2013.
And is that when you started dating her father?
Yes, that's when I started dating her father.
Do you have children of your own?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
4.
Oh, wow. Were you with Madison Keeney in 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you married to her father at that?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please tell the court what Madison told you that ultimately led to the case we have today against Wardell Lemon?
Yes, ma'am. Madison, I was taking her and my daughter at the time. I can't I remember how old they both were, but they were elementary school age. We were going to Target. And we were driving, just kind of laughing with the girls. They were kind of going through that phase where they thought little boys were cute at school. My daughter was talking about a boy, like, oh, he's so cute, you know, making little comments. We were just kind of laughing. And Madison made the remark that, oh, my daddy's going to be kind of strict about when I'm dating. And I said, no, daddy just wants you to date someone good, from a good family, you know, that comes from a good background when you get older. And then she mentioned, she said, my mommy's boyfriend is creepy. And I said, oh, well, you know, maybe, you know, just kind of not trying to get anything out of her or say anything. And then she said, I want to tell you something. And I said, sure, you can tell me anything. And she said, promise me you can't tell my daddy. She begged me, I would say for a good 5 minutes, not to tell her dad. And I told her that if somebody hurt her, I couldn't keep it from her father. I would have to tell him. And this all happened. By this time, we're in the Target parking lot. And that's when she explained to me that Wardell would tell her about rubbing her tummy, that he explained it as rubbing her tummy, and he put his hands in her pants and with his fingers in her vagina. And she started crying. I immediately started crying. We didn't go inside the store. We went home. And when I walked inside the house, I told my husband and we called the cops immediately.
Now, when she told you that he would touch her vagina, did she say it happened on a specific day?
No, she didn't give me like days or anything of that sort. I didn't want to pull, you know, I can't imagine. So I didn't question her. After she did say that and we called the cops, she, with time, did say other little details. When she felt comfortable, she would just say sometimes she would hide from him when she was over at her mother's because she didn't want it to happen.
Okay. Did she articulate whether there was any penetration?
No, she never said that to me. I never tried to push or question.
Did she say where on her vagina he would touch?
She would say like inside, you know, she was a little child at the time.
To your knowledge, had she told any other adults before this?
No.
I'll pass the witness, Ryan.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Kinney.
Hi.
I'm Leo Gonzalez. I represent Wardell Lemon. Just have a few questions about the outcry, okay?
Okay.
If you don't understand something that I'm asking you, please ask me to repeat the question.
Okay.
And if you're unclear, if you're not sure the answer, it's okay to say I don't understand, okay?
Okay.
So just briefly, it was your daughter, your biological daughter and Madison in the car with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said that, I'm sorry, what was your other daughter's name?
Her name is Addison.
Okay. And how old was Addison at the time?
Honestly, I cannot remember how old she was. They were in elementary school at the time.
And you remember this to be what time, I guess, what year was this that this outcry came out?
She was in elementary school, about 4th grade, go somewhere around there. I
But do you
believe.
remember the year?
No, I do not.
Would it surprise you if it was reported in 2019?
Definitely wasn't in 2019.
It was not in 2019.
No.
So what year do you think that was then?
We lived in Houston at the time. I mean, I can't remember the specific year, to be honest. We lived over there for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay. And so the same day that you received the outcry is the day that you reported it to police?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I understand you correctly, both children were in elementary school?
Yes.
Okay. How old is, I guess, what's Madison's birthday?
June 18th of 07.
07. So if 2019, she would be 12? depending on the time of year. She could be 11 or 12.
In 2019?
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head.
I mean, but you can do a little bit of math, right? 2019, 2012,
2019, she was,
2007.
2007, she was born.
Okay. Okay. Just a couple other questions. Do you remember speaking to the police about what Madison had told you about?
Yes,
Okay, and you talked about it here today that she told you what exactly?
she described that he would tell her that it was belly rubs and he'd put his hands in her pants.
Okay, that he would tell her it was belly rubs?
Yes,
Now, do you remember telling the police that initially that she told you that he began rubbing her stomach?
yes,
Okay, and that they asked you if intercourse or penetration occurred, and if you had asked Madison about that. Do you remember that?
I do, but
Okay.
she never said that.
Let me wait for my next question. Okay, 1 second. She never responded in a yes or no fashion.
She was never asked that question.
Did you ever ask that question to her?
No.
Okay. Do you recall telling the police that you asked her that question?
I never told the police I asked that question.
And I have no further questions. Right?
All right, any other questions?
Just to clarify one thing, when he was asking you the date, not when it happened to her, but when she told you,
Do I remember the date?
generally the year.
No.
Okay.
No,
Would
I
it
do not.
surprise you that police were involved on September 14th of 2019?
Yes, it would surprise me
Why do you think it wasn't 2019?
because I remember she was a little child and I know that we went to downtown Houston to do the interview. And at this time, she was already in middle school.
Okay,
She was going to Anthony Middle School in Houston.
okay. And how old is she today?
She just turned 16.
Okay. So was there a lag between when you told police and when you went downtown?
Yes.
How long?
I can't remember, but it was a long time.
Okay. All right, no further questions.
All right, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, does anyone want to invoke the rule?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. The rule
Defense
has,
revoke the rule.
all right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state of the defense. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You may step down. All right, and if you want to remove them to the back, you can. They have their resets forms, but I know Corley probation, yes. And before you bring them in, let me ask. Bashan, are you already on Lemire? Lemire, yes. All right, we're going to take this up very quickly.
That's fine. And
Hello, Mr. Lemire.
Oh, Your Honor.
Hello. All right, Mr. Lemire, we have some issues. Do you know what those issues are? All right, what are those issues? All right, why are you using alcohol? Yes, why are you using alcohol?
Being around alcohol tends to is a big temptation.
And where are you getting alcohol?
The staff, his name is Kel, which will be to get it.
And when was this? And Mr. Lemire, let me explain something to you. You don't have an attorney here because this is a compliance hearing. This is for me to understand what's going on with you and to see what kind of help you need, if you need help, and whether or not a motion to revoke should be filed. So that's why you haven't been sworn in, because I'm trying to figure out what is going on in your life and why you're not being successful. So here's the thing, I need you to be honest with me, 100% honest with me. Okay. So there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm just trying to find out what's going on in your life so I can figure out what help you need, if there's help I can give you. You understand?
Yes, ma'am, and my mom actually said that my dad was doing AA, it worked for him, and he did get sober and stay sober.
All right. So, but what is happening in your life? Because you're not supposed to use alcohol when you're on probation.
There was also an error in the company, and it was not like on purpose, but it was a mistake in the computer, and I was off my antipsychotics for 6 days.
All right. And then, so I have you being drunk, according to the report that I received, and threatening someone. So when's the last time you had alcohol?
I don't remember, it's been a long time.
So is this the person where he's staying? Are they here?
Yes, Your Honor, she should be.
All right, who's Miss Jones? You need to unmute Miss Jones.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
All right. So what is happening with Mr. Lemire?
Okay, well, I heard him say that the staff bought it. No, he asked the staff to take him to the Dollar Tree, and he went next door to the liquor store and bought it and hid it in his bag.
Okay.
He went to another home and kept calling his mom saying that they were threatening him, this, that, and the other. That was not the case. So I told them to take him back to my home. When he got there, my staff notified me that he was drunk, stumbling everywhere, throwing his belongings outside. So I immediately went over there. And by the time I got over there, they said he was threatening my minor. And I told them to call the cops because it was a big bottle of bourbon whiskey that he had that was half gone.
All right. So
And
here's my question, Miss Jones.
Yes, ma'am.
Up until that point, how was he doing?
Up until that point, he was okay. He had just went to my home for a pre-placement visit. So everything was okay. They were trying to go on an outing, and that's when we had another disturbance where he was trying to jump out the van on the freeway, and the GPS caseworker was threatening my staff, saying he was going to go to jail for kidnapping because Chris said that they took him against his will. And that's when it all started.
All right. So here's my question. Would you be willing to take him back in your program?
I mean, he's there now. I can't make that decision. That's up to the executive directors, but he has been placed back in the home with the minor. And the only option and issue that we have is that he has no other homes to go to here.
And why is he placed with the minor and he's not a minor?
Because they just place him in homes where we have spots. There's other gentlemen in the home that is his age or older, but the minor has his own room.
All right.
And so that's where they have him placed because that was the only other spot to put him. There's no other homes that we have. So that was the only other spot.
All right, and what type of supervision do they have at the home?
They have a staff on duty that watches them, that monitors everything, and they help them, you know, with their meds, daily activity, living activities and skills. And all of them in the home are high level, like Chris. They're capable of, you know, walking to the store or, you know, letting us know their needs, dislikes, and stuff like that, except for the minor.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anything else from her, Ms. Abrams?
What's the off? Can we determine whether or not he was given his medication on the days that he said he was not medicated?
Yes, now he's given his medication. Now, the only thing is, if he refuses, we cannot make him take it.
All right, do you know if he was refusing his medication?
No, no one has told me that he's been refusing it. I've known that he's been taking it. Now, if he's off one that he said he hadn't had in 6 days, I would have to get the nurse on the phone and find that out from her. But when he came over there, no one said that he was missing medication.
All right.
He had all his medication that was on the Mars.
So at your home, does
And
someone
the reason I
get,
say that is because his mom went back to the home to get his psychiatric medication from the home that he was at that day, because she said it was left there. So she went and got the meds. So he had his meds.
so here's my question. When
Yes,
he is
ma'am.
at one of your homes
Mhm.
and he has his medication, do
Yes, ma'am.
you all issue the medication to him, or is it 100% up to him to take his medication?
No, ma'am. We have to scan it because it's on Quickmar. So we have to scan the medication and we pop it out, or if they're capable of popping it out, like Chris is, he will pop out the medication and he will take it. Now, again, like I said before, if he refuses, we can only ask him 2 more times, hey, Chris, you need to take your medicine. It's to help you with, you know, whatever it's for. And if he still refuses, all we can do is document that he refuses.
All right,
Now,
if
if
he
he
refuses
takes it-
his medication,
Yes, ma'am.
will you all immediately notify probation? Is that,
Like I say, I just got him. So if he does, the nurses is immediately notified.
all right, but here's my
Because we
question. Will they notify probation? That's what I want. If he doesn't
I
take
mean,
his
if
medication.
he's in my home now, so if I need to notify probation, I can notify probation. Like I say, again, I just got him, so I'm trying to learn him and learn what needs to be done. Like I say, I spoke to the GPS people to let them know. And like I say, I started letting them know everything that has been going on. That's why I reached out to them when he came to the house drunk.
All right, this
and
is
stuff,
what I,
so
this
if
is
I
what I
need-
want. If he doesn't
Yes,
take
ma'am.
his medication, I want probation notified.
Okay.
All right. Probation, is there anything else? All right. And are you Deputy Harrison? I'm sorry, I don't know your rank.
Yes, Sergeant Harrison.
All right, Sergeant Harrison. Are you aware of what's happening in this case with Mr. Lemire?
I am aware because I spoke with Ms. Jones as to him being drunk. And this was after the fact, when he was already released from the sober tank. I'm guessing that's where they took him because he was never arrested. They sobered him up and they let him leave. So I spoke to her afterwards. And I just heard Ms. Jones make a statement that I guess I misunderstood, Ms. Jones. I didn't realize you said the GPS officer was saying that you were kidnapping him. I thought you said Mr. Lemire. So I will talk to my staff about that also.
Yeah, well, they said that they can get him, he can get arrested for kidnapping because Chris Lemire was telling him that he was taking him against his will. So they were on the freeway and I was on the phone with my staff when he was talking to the GPS worker, and I kept telling him, give him my number, have him call me. You
Right.
know? And it was Officer Patel
Stop,
that
Mr.
we
Lemire.
spoke to. and he was trying to get out the vehicle while they were driving on the freeway. And my staff was like, do you see where we are? He was like, stop. He was like, I'm talking to your GPS worker. He kept telling him to stop. He was trying to get out on the freeway. And he said
Got
that
it.
we were taking him against his will. And like I told Officer Patel, that home that he's at, they do a lot of outings. They don't just sit at home. They go to the park, they go fishing, they go to the zoo, you know, they do things. And Chris said that he cannot go nowhere, and the officer asked me if we can leave him at home. I said the staff from the other home he came to may have left him at home, but we cannot leave them at home by themselves.
All right, so that problem with leaving him at home by himself and GPS, I'm gonna solve that problem. All right, so this is Sergeant Harrison. Is there anything else you would like to say?
No, just that if Miss Jones, if he does anything that he's not supposed to do, if you would just reach out like you did before. And like I said, I will talk to my GPS officer. And as of now, we do have him on schedule. And all we need to know is advance notice, and we can put him on schedule for, we do have him out from the times you told me. And we'll just keep it on schedule, and he can go anywhere that you take him. We don't have a problem with it at all.
All right, thank you, because that's what I'm going to order. So with regards to GPS, just let GPS know where he's going, and you're allowed to go as long as you're supervised and you're with the persons in the home. You understand? So you cannot go somewhere by yourself. I understand mental health issues. I used to do a lot of work with people who had mental health issues, but you are still on probation in this court, and there are rules. Number one rule, you have to take your medications. If your medications are having side effects, you need to let a doctor know. Because if you don't let anybody know, they don't know, and they're going to expect you to take your medications. If you stop taking your medications, look where we are. We're in court, and you're looking at going to prison. You understand? You are not allowed to drink alcohol. If you tell someone you are going to the Dollar Tree, that is the only place that you go. No, I want you to hear me clearly. You got alcohol from somewhere. You know you're not supposed to have alcohol. I don't care if someone gave it to you. You know you're not supposed to have alcohol, and you're an adult. It's not like you're a child where someone gives you something and you start taking it. You're an adult. You know you're not supposed to have alcohol. You understand? And I am giving you, I don't want to say leeway, but I'm here with this compliance hearings to make sure that you understand. You have everybody here trying to work with you. You have Sergeant Harrison working with you. You have Miss Jones working with you. You have probation, Miss Abrams working with you. Everybody's trying to work with you and make sure you're successful and don't go to prison. But if you continue like this, there's going to be a certain point in time where all of the issues you have, your mental health issues, any mental capacity issues, that's not going to save you, because there are rules. Everybody has to follow the rules. If there's a rule that you have to follow and you don't understand that rule, you can ask Miss Jones. You can ask probation. You can come back and ask me, but you must abide by the rules. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, are you taking your medications regularly?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you have your medications, you're not out, you're not running low? All right. Do you need any help with your alcohol issues?
I've signed myself. Oh, I've already done that, and I see her today.
All right. So he's going to be in counseling then with Miss Dupree. Who is Miss Dupree?
Melissa Dupree is our psychiatrist that we have here, that speaks to them if they, have issues or want to talk to someone. We schedule them to see her once a week.
All right. I'm going to want him in counseling for his substance abuse issues.
Yes, ma'am.
With a concentration on alcohol. I haven't heard that he's taken any other drugs. It's just alcohol. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That's all I've known.
All right. If we could do that and make sure that he does sober meetings, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's do 90 meetings in 90 days. All right. And I'm just saying 90 meetings in 90 days. If you need more than that, just ask. Because everybody knows internally what they need to maintain their sobriety.
Will I get a sponsor?
Yes, if you want a sponsor, you just have to ask for one. But in my experience with people who have drug issues, what they do is when they go to sober meetings, they get a feel for the sober meetings. And then once they're in it and they know the rules and they're on the road to sobriety, usually then they want a support system with a mentor. Right. All right. Is there anything else from either side?
No,
All
ma'am.
right. Sergeant Harrison, Ms. Jones, anything else?
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming in.
Yes, ma'am.
They say
Thank you.
teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all so much. Have a great morning. If there are any issues, please just let probation know. And I appreciate you all coming in so we can nip this in the bud before it gets completely out of control.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good Wednesday morning.
You too.
Stay hydrated. All right. Is there anything his mother wanted to say or no? Is there anything you needed to say?
Just that when he mentioned that he went without the medication, the antipsychotic.
Mhm.
And that was before Ms. Jones was in state with her, like she mentioned, he was dismissed. So he went to get his meds on a Friday morning on June 2nd. And his Seroquel, which is an antipsychotic, was not there. He had a new med called Depakote.
All right. So here's the thing. Just make sure that you stay in contact with probation. Make sure that you stay in contact with his case manager. If you see anything off about him, let probation know. I take no joy or pleasure in sending people to prison. So I like to nip things in the bud before they get out of control. So if something comes up or you notice something is off about his medications or something else is going on that you have a concern about, let probation know. If they don't address the issue, then we're here. You can come and talk to me, okay? No. Okay. No, I appreciate it. And all right, thank you. And probation will give their information, and probation is going to want to talk to him before he leaves. All right, thank you so much. Have a great day. Stay hydrated. All right, we're ready to line them up. Yes. Yes, where is he? All right, could I see the file on Terrasas, please? And if you can have him sign that, and once he signs that, he's free to go. Oh, thank you. And the date on that is the 21st, council?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Let me check. I don't have Raul Reyes. Oh, yes. Can you give her the reset form, please? And he signed the reset form.
He did. Yes, Your Honor.
Who are you here for?
Good morning, Mr. Gonzalez.
And where is he?
Right there. Right there, the green shirt.
All right. You need to have him sign that and turn it in, then you're excused. Good morning. And that's the 22nd on there?
Correct.
All right, thank you. Is Pete Garcia here? All right, if you'll come forward, can I see the file on Pete Garcia? I'm going to give you a reset form. Can you give that to him and have him sign it, please? You're going to be back on August 22nd. We're currently in a jury trial. Okay. We're ready.
All right, for the jury?
Oh, please be seated. We stand for you. All right, I hope you all were able to find decent parking. I'm sorry we're running a little bit late. One of the hearings I had this morning ran over, but that hearing had nothing to do with this case. You all may see people coming in from these doors. If somebody comes in from that door, it's because they didn't read the sign on the door that says we're in jury trial. So they'll look bashful. If you see someone coming in through this door, it's other cases that I work with. Sometimes people will come to have documents for me to sign, but ignore that. It has absolutely nothing to do with this case. Does everyone understand? All right, if you all could raise your right hand for me, please. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm in the case of the state of Texas against Wardell Lemon, you will a true verdict render according to the law and the evidence, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand. State, are you prepared with opening statement? I'm sorry, prepared to read the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
In the name and by authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County, state of Texas, duly organized, impaneled, and sworn as such at the July term AD 2020 of the 379th Judicial District Court of said county, in said court, at said term, do present in and to said court, that in the county and state aforesaid, and anterior to the presentment of this indictment, on or about the first day of January 2015, Wardell Lemon, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did intentionally and knowingly engage in sexual contact with Madison Keeney, a female child younger than 17 years, by touching part of the genitals of Madison Keeney with the intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person against the peace and dignity of the state, signed the foreman of the grand jury.
All right, how do you plead to that?
Not guilty.
All right, you may be seated. State, are you ready with opening statements?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Good morning. Madison Keeney today is a 16-year-old girl. She is an all age group. But you'll hear from her. She's been damaged. Her mom, the biological mother, is not in her life. It hasn't been in her life for a long time. Father has had full custody of her since she was 3 years. 2014, 2015. She would go and visit her mother on weekends. They were living here in their town, both mom and dad. Mother dating Wardell. You'll hear from Madison that we would out with Wardell and watch the videos. And over many months, years, we gradually groomed her. Sit on my lap. Rub your belly. Gradually moving his hand down, further and down. So it culminated in an incident that Madison recalls. Where he put his hand all the way down to where baby was. He's around age 12. And we talked about jury selection, those of you who know people who waited a long time. Well, Madison waited a long time. She didn't. Until she was 12 years old. And it was in what started out as an innocent conversation with her stepsister and her new stepmom, boys' grade. And she had a connection to her stepmom, Linda. And I have to tell you something. That you have to promise something. For one of them. And And that's when she told Linda. When she was, quite frankly, too young to understand. So by this point, Madison and her family had moved to Houston. So the investigation was done in Houston. He's nurse, Houston. Well, since it happened here, we then sent to there. With the detective, Detective O'Brien, who got everything together, submitted it to our office. We talked a lot about the one witness. Well, unfortunately, that is. And unfortunately, there were no people who saw it. Because Mr. Lemon. And when we talked about what we look for in credibility, emotion, body language, you'll see that. And at the end of the trial, we'll ask the defendant.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes.
Please, court.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. So yesterday during the selection, obviously couldn't get into any of the details. What we expect to hear come from the witness today. Okay? So now we're going to tell you basically what we expect to come from this witness stand, how we expect this evidence to play out. Because it is a adversarial system that we have, clearly there are going to be things that we disagree on. Okay? What I can tell you right now is that we disagree on much of what the state has presented so far. This is going to be a case that we believe involves some questionable motives, some inconsistent allegations, and even an investigation that fell pretty short. Yes, you're going to hear about the investigation that was done in Houston. That was pretty cookie cutter. Let's stamp it, move it along. Not do anything else to look at that. Let somebody else figure it out. Ultimately, somebody pass it along. You to figure it out without doing any kind of scrutiny as to how and why the allegations came. You're going to hear that Mr. Lemon began dating Amanda Lewis, who is Madison's biological mother. And you're going to hear that until that time, Justin Feeney, father of Madison, still had a relationship with Amanda. Not necessarily a romantic one, they still got along. But when that dating relationship started, everything changed. He did not like Wardell. You're going to hear how much he did not like Wardell. You're also going to hear that after that breakup, or after that relationship changed because of the new dating, because of the new boyfriend, he would get pretty upset with Amanda. Okay? And you're going to hear that Amanda did help raise Madison as an infant, worked as a waitress. Certain point though, he was able to better support her. So even though they didn't have a real custody in place, they kind of worked it out back and forth with each other. At some point, Justin begins filing for custody of Madison. She agrees to the custody arrangement, doesn't have money for a lawyer, so she agrees to the arrangement that's put in paper. And regarding child support. At that point, Justin moves to Houston. You're going to hear that that is actually in violation of their own agreement that they had at that point. Okay, but not having any money, not having access to the legal aid, doesn't do anything about it. It's okay, we take care of it, fine. Take care of Madison. I understand, as long as she gets to come back and see me, no problem. So that continues. You're going to see that there's a relationship that happens between Madison and Wardell. Loving relationship, one where they have fun together. They go play games together as a family. They go hang out at arcades. She becomes a Spurs fan, even though her biological dad is a Lakers fan. And if you know Spurs and Lakers, that's a big deal. You're also going to hear that Shortly before these allegations came out in July of 2019, a modification was filed by Justin in regards to Amanda, modified and enforced child support. You're gonna hear that in September of that year, she was served. And you're gonna hear that 8 days later is when the outcry or report was made to Harris County Sheriff's Office. I want you to think about what we talked about in jury selection when you hear the evidence about this, about how those things can affect our adults. They go to children, they put children in positions that make them uncomfortable. You're gonna hear that as much as a relationship that Madison and Wardell had, Justin hell-bent on making sure Amanda paid for dating somebody else. And that motivation has driven much of this case. I want you to look at all the evidence through that light, ladies and gentlemen, because it's important to consider it not just as somebody said this, and so we're just gonna be. There's more to it than just that. I want you to think about the investigation that you're gonna hear about, how much more you wish would have been done. We believe that you're gonna hear a lot of inconsistency, and you're gonna hear that there are reasons that sometimes there are inconsistencies in what people say. But I want you to think about specifically about those inconsistencies, and how different they are, and how they're being changed to try to affect it. When the end of evidence comes, we believe you're gonna find my client, Wardell Lemon, not guilty of this offense.
All right, state, call your first witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Justin Keeney.
All right, can you raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, you can have a seat, adjust your microphone as needed. Make sure you keep your voice up so that the court reporter can hear and the jurors can hear. If you'll state your name for the record and spell it, please.
Justin Keeney, JustinKeeney.
State.
Mr. Keeney, how were you related to Madison?
I'm her father.
And when was Madison born?
She was born in 2007.
How old is she today?
She's 16.
Who is Madison's mother?
Her mother is Amanda Lewis.
And were you married to Amanda?
No,
Did you live with Amanda?
we did live together.
How long did you live together while with Madison?
For about 3 years, 3.5 years.
Okay. Were you living here in Dare County?
Yes.
After Madison turned 3 and you separated from Amanda, was there a custody arrangement that was made?
Yes, I took full custody of her. She signed over her rights to me.
Were there any adversarial hearings about custody?
No, we met with a lawyer. I hired a lawyer. She signed over agreement and it was pretty simple. There was no fight whatsoever.
So you had an order for full custody,
Yes, that's correct.
and when was that granted?
Probably when she was 4, right after that, shortly after. So I would say somewhere around 2011.
Okay. Did Madison ever see her mom after you were awarded full custody?
She did see her every other weekend.
And how long did that arrangement go on?
It lasted for, I would say, about 5 years, 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so from the age she was, you said maybe early 4, late 3
Yeah.
years old,
Correct.
till she was roughly, what, 9 or 10?
Yeah, around 10 or 11.
And where was Amanda residing during this time?
With her boyfriend, I guess, the gentleman right there. They were in Bear County as well.
And what was her boyfriend's name?
Wardell,
What was his last name?
Lemon, or as they called him, Buddy.
Okay.
So, which was weird.
And can you identify Mr. Lemon? You indicated he is here. Can you identify?
He's right there in the white shirt.
What color tie is he wearing?
I don't know, it looks a multicolored rainbow tie, I'm not sure.
Okay, but I'll let the record reflect he has identified the defendant, Wardell. What kind of home did they live in?
I believe it was a duplex.
Would Madison have her own room?
From what I understand, I think she did, yes.
Did Madison, did you have any concerns about Madison going over there on the weekends?
I did. She used to come back smelling like smoke. She was sick all the time when she would come back. There's various reasons. You could just tell that that wasn't a good environment for her to be in. I voiced my concern to her mother, and also, to my lawyer, and there's not much I could do outside of that. But yeah, it was very noticeable, and it was hard to send her over there, knowing that, not trusting, but that was her mother, so we hope for the best.
And so, when did you said they went on for 4 or 5 years? Was there like something significant that happened that caused the visitations to stop?
Well, we moved to Cypress, which was in our allocated distance. I moved for work, and she just stopped kind of wanting to see her. We still made an effort. I think one time we let her stay for spring break with her, and then we found out she was being watched by random people that we had never met before. So that was kind of a telltale sign, like that was not a good thing for her. After that, we still made an effort for her mother to come out to Cypress where we lived, to even stay with us. My wife made an effort so that she could see her daughter. We never tried to not have her mother in her life. So just always wanted the best circumstances for her to be there.
Now, in 2019, where were you living?
In 2019, I was living in Cypress.
Okay. And without going into what it was there an event in 2019 that caused you to file additional custody motions?
In 2019, when we found out what happened, my daughter came forward and had stated, obviously, why we're here today. That's when I even reached out to her mother, informing her of what happened, in hopes that she would, maybe do the right thing. She did not believe Madison for one bit, and kind of protected Mr. Wardell over there. And it wasn't a good thing. And that's when we stopped kind of, attempting to let her see Madison, obviously for that reason.
Yana, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm handing you what's been labeled state exhibit number 1.
Yes,
What is that?
that's my daughter.
It's your daughter, Madison.
Yes,
How old is she in this?
she is 10, 11 years old.
And so she was born in 2007.
2000.
Then,
Yeah, it's 2015.
okay, so she was like maybe
Oh, I'm sorry, 8, yes.
8.
Just a little.
And is this a fair and accurate depiction of her age in 2015?
Yes, it is.
And what's how she's holding? She's holding.
American Girl doll.
Your Honor, at this point, I'd offer state exhibit number 1. defense counsel.
No.
Question?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, State's Exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection. Yes.
You said Madison is 16 years old. What grade is she in right now?
She will be a junior.
Okay.
next
And
year.
is she doing well in school?
Yeah, she's in all AP classes, A's and B's, she runs track and cross country. She's a very good kid.
I'll pass the witness.
Defense?
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Keeney. How you doing?
Been better.
I'm Leo Gonzalez. I represent Mr. Wardell Lemon. I have a few questions for you, okay?
Okay,
If you don't understand the question that I'm asking, please ask me to repeat it so I can maybe use better words to explain myself, okay?
understood.
Thank you, sir. Now, sir, you currently live in Cypress, is that correct?
No, not currently.
So where do you live now?
I live in Shirts.
Shirts. So you've moved back here to the San Antonio area?
Yeah, we moved back about 2 years ago,
So in 2021?
roughly, yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this, what kind of work are you in?
I'm in sales,
What kind of sales?
optical medical sales.
And when you moved to Cypress, were you still in that type of work?
Yes, that's the reason for me moving there.
And what was the reason for moving back?
My mother-in-law almost died from COVID, and we had a baby. So we wanted to be closer to her and we moved back. I currently still go to Houston and travel for work.
Okay, so your work is based out of Houston?
Yes.
And so you travel over there?
Mhm.
Okay, is that correct? Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay, so make sure the court reporter can't do okay. Yes, ma'am. Now, you said you and Amanda lived together for a few years?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you and Amanda meet?
We met during work prior to that. So when I was younger, maybe around 20, 21.
Okay, and prior to having Madison, did y'all live together?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so and you said after a couple of years, your relationship ended. What caused your relationship to end?
We were not going in the same life direction. Her mother was just not a good person and I didn't want to be around that. So if you want to, I can get into more detail.
Well, you characterize as not a good person. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, she was doing drugs. She was just.
Well, I'm not asking you what you know. That's what your words are, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You really want this jury to know how bad of a person she was?
I'm just stating why we broke up. You asked that question.
Okay. And so at that point, you said you met with a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
Now, had you already broken up at this point?
Yes, we did.
And how long after the breakup did you, I guess, meet with a lawyer and then file paperwork on regarding Madison?
Within a couple of months.
Okay. When did you first meet Wardell Lemon?
We first met through her mother. I didn't really meet him. It was a friend of hers. I think she was buying drugs from him.
Your Honor, please instruct the witness to only answer the question and object to non-responsive.
All right, that'll be sustained. You need to listen to the question and answer the question. Do you understand?
Yes.
If you try to add things that are not asked of you, then there's a chance that your entire testimony will be stricken from the record. Do you understand?
I understand.
And I ask that the last comment be stricken from the record, Your Honor.
All right. And would you like the jury to be instructed to disregard?
I would, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are to disregard that last answer. That answer was not in response to the question that was asked. Does everyone understand? So that means you're not to consider at all. It is like it was never said. All right? You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Were you aware that they were dating prior to filing the paperwork?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Did her relationship with Wardell bother you?
No, it did not.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
And she was marked as defendant's exhibit number 1. Do you recognize that, sir? You can look through it and see if anything.
Yeah, I recognize this.
And what is that?
That is our court order
Court
for
order regarding-
custody.
It's the order that was filed.
Yes,
Okay, look through it some more. I just want to make sure it's a true and accurate copy of the order that you had, correct?
it looks to be,
You want to just make sure it's correct?
it looks to be correct.
Doesn't appear to be altered in any way?
Is there something that I should be looking at?
No, I'm just asking if you will look through it and if it's.
Can you just look?
Sure, I'm sorry. If you go ahead and look through it, I just want to make sure that it's true and correct, that's all.
It looks correct.
All right, offer evidence. Defense exhibit number 1 at this time, defendant's counsel.
All right, any objections?
No objection. Your Honor.
All right, defense exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection.
May I approach the witness again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Draw your attention to page 2 here. Near the bottom, where it references joint management conservative, what did it say there?
The court finds that the following orders are in the best interest of the child. It is ordered that Justin King and Amanda Lewis are.
Excuse me, if you can slow down, the court reporter has to take everything that's being said. You may continue.
It is ordered that Justin Keeney and Amanda Lewis are appointed joint managing conservatives of the following child, Madison Keeney. It is ordered that at all times Justin Keeney is a parent, joint managing conservator, shall have the following rights: the right to receive information from any other conservator of the child concerning the health, education, and welfare of the child, the right to confer with the other parent to the extent possible before making a decision concerning the health, education, and welfare of the child, the right of access to medical, dental, psychological, and educational records of the child.
And just the next paragraph references who?
If I can have a running allowance to approach the witness.
Yes.
And what was the next paragraph reference?
Which it goes all the way down.
Right, and so then as the next paragraph, this is all rights that you have as a conservator, correct?
Correct.
Does it mention that in regards to Amanda as well?
It does.
Now,
can you read on the bottom of page 6 regarding exclusive right to designate that paragraph and the following paragraph?
This whole page,
The bottom, yes.
this one paragraph,
Yes,
those are 2 sentences.
yes, sir. This paragraph and then the paragraph.
It is further ordered that Justin Keeney shall have the exclusive right to designate the child's primary residence with Bear County or the contiguous counties of Bear. It is further ordered that this geographical restriction on the residence of the child shall be lifted if at the time Justin Keeney wishes to remove the child from Bear County or the contiguous counties of Bear for the purpose of changing the primary residence of the child. Amanda Lewis is not residing in Bear County or contiguous counties of Bear.
Might I publish the jury this time around?
Yes.
You referenced where Amanda and Wardell lived during this time. You said it was a duplex?
Yes,
Okay, whenever you did the transfer of Madison, how would that go? Where were you, where was the pickup, drop off?
she would pick her up from daycare at my house, by my house.
In Cyprus?
No, in San Antonio.
Okay.
She never made an effort to pick her up or meet when we moved.
It's one at a time. So during the time that she lived here in San Antonio and you lived in here in San Antonio, she picked her up from daycare?
Yes, and sometimes from my house.
Okay. And then once you moved to Cyprus, there was never any transfer at that point?
No, we tried, like I said earlier, there was no effort from the mother.
Okay, you said you tried, and you made her available, is that what you're saying?
Yes, we still came to town every other weekend.
Okay, and so would you, when you came to town, what would you do in order to let Wardell and Amanda know that,
Well, I would let her mother know, not Wardell, I would let her mother know we're in town if you want to see her. And sometimes she would, it just became very few, and basically non-existent after a while.
and what year was that?
It would be probably around 2015. 2014.
Okay, so during that time, from 2014 to 2019, was she ever there at the house, at their house?
Was who?
Madison.
Sometimes she spent a spring break there, probably in that same year. And that's when we found out she was being watched by other people that we didn't know.
Okay, so that time that she was in what year was that? I'm sorry.
2015, around that time when I moved to Cyprus.
But the incident where you had the spring break visit, what year was that? Do you recall?
I just said it was probably around 2015, that same year, sometime when spring break occurs.
So 2015, and that's the last time you remember her being at their house?
Roughly, yeah, somewhere. Like I said, that's been a while, so I can't give you an exact date.
And so after 2015 through 2019, she didn't go over there at all?
No, she never made an effort after when we found out what happened. I wasn't gonna let my daughter be around somebody.
And you said in that 2015 particular incident, she was being watched by other people?
Yes,
When you say other people, you're referring to not Amanda and not Wardell?
that's correct.
So neither one of them were in the household at the time?
My daughter was being given to people at their work or whoever and going off places. When we tried to get in contact with her, she wasn't available, or we found out she was with somebody else.
Okay, so
And her mother admitted to that, and we had problems. Obviously, I'm not gonna let my daughter just go with whoever.
okay. How did you find out about that?
Amanda admitted to it, her mother admitted to it when we were trying to get a hold of her during that spring break. And before we took her, she had promised she would be with her the whole time.
Okay, and so other people were watching her, which means Mr. Lemon was not anywhere in the vicinity or with her in the household.
As far as, I don't know what happened the whole week. She wasn't with the people the whole week. I think I made that clear earlier.
And let me ask you this, you and your wife, you ever go out like on date nights or anything else?
Objective relevance.
Yeah.
All right, that'll be, excuse me, when any of the attorneys make an objection, you need to stop speaking so I can make a ruling on it. That's okay. And if I make my ruling, or when I make my ruling, if you don't understand whether you can answer or not, just let the court know. All right, that objection will be sustained.
Have you and your wife ever left Madison with other people?
Not other than family members.
Did you know if these people were family members?
My family?
No, of either Amanda or Wardell.
No, they're not. They weren't. Man,
My
that's not-
question, Miss, I'll hold you up there. My question is, did you know if they were?
No.
Now, you've never liked Wardell, correct?
I don't know him.
You remember sending some text messages to Amanda, calling him a pimp?
I don't recall any messages I sent. That's a long time ago.
So you wouldn't disagree with that if it was something that was that she had?
I would have to see it. I don't recall saying that. I'm sure back in the time when we broke up, there was a lot of things said between us.
Now, have you ever threatened to send Amanda to jail?
I have
Objective
not.
relevance.
That will be overruled. You can answer the question.
I have not.
Do you recall telling her shortly after these or before these allegations that she'll be in jail soon?
No, I did tell her for child support, she would be facing jail because she did go to court and was told basically on the point of going to jail.
I object to non-responsive, Your Honor.
That will be overruled.
You filed a motion in September of 2019 to enforce child support, is that correct?
I believe so. I don't recall the exact date.
And when did you notify the police about what Madison had stated occurred to her?
Sometime in 2019.
Do you know how close in time those incidents occurred?
I do not. It never has no relevance to me. No relevance.
All right, and sir, you don't have to move towards the microphone. It will pick up
Okay, sorry.
because the court reporter is getting some feedback now.
Sorry.
No problem. All right, defense.
Thank you. Did Amanda ever give you child support informally, like cash payments?
No.
Objection relevance.
Sustained.
You yourself never talked to Amanda about, I'm sorry, to Madison about what happened with her?
Not as far as anything other than it happened. I didn't get into details because that's my daughter and it's kind of hard to listen to.
So who was the person that you believe spoke to her about it?
She came out and told my wife.
It's okay.
It's just happened.
And when do you recall that taking place?
I believe 2019.
Was there any delay in notifying the police?
Once we found out, we let the police know right away. We called the police right away.
So
Within an hour.
there was not a delay?
No.
Okay. May I approach witness once again, Your Honor?
Yes.
And choose marked defendants exhibit number 2, do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That's child support. Case or cause.
Is that what was filed by you in September of 2019?
Yes, it was.
Does it appear to be a true and accurate copy of that?
Yes, it does.
For now, that's either 2 or Carter County.
All right. Defense exhibit number 2 is admitted without objection.
What was the jurisdiction summary?
Yes.
Between the time you moved to Houston, it was at 2015, 2014,
That's correct.
and 2019, how many times do you think Madison stayed at the house where Wardell and Amanda lived?
I'm not sure. I can't, recall every single time.
Well, I guess earlier you've testified that after you moved, they barely saw her.
That's correct. They still saw her once in a while. I can't tell you how many exact times.
Would you say it's more than 5?
I would say probably 5 or less.
Okay, so less than 5 times.
Probably yes.
Prior to moving, how often did she go over there?
About every other week. Sometimes she would miss maybe at least once a month.
So when she was about maybe 6 or 7?
Yeah.
She would go over there?
Yep.
Okay. And it's during the time that you lived here in San Antonio, the San Antonio area, and Amanda and Wardell were dating. Did you know if they ever went on any kind of outings? Did they ever do stuff together?
Objection calls for hearsay.
I'm not asking if he has knowledge, Your Honor.
If you know.
I don't know.
Okay. You said that there were some issues that you were concerned about Madison going over to stay with her mom, and you talked to an attorney about it?
No.
Well, earlier you said you talked to an attorney, but there was not much you could do.
Well, my attorney that did the child support case, I asked her if there's anything I could do. And there's not much because it wasn't anything physical yet that we could prove.
So there was nothing illegal, so there was nothing that you could do.
Well, my daughter would talk about illegal things.
Let me stop right there. My question is, at that point, there was nothing illegal, so there was nothing you could do to change anything at that point.
Correct.
Okay. And in fact, did your attorney basically tell you until something illegal occurs is when that could change?
Objection hearsay.
We didn't really.
I'll rephrase
Excuse
the
me.
question, Your Honor.
All right, everyone. When an objection is made, I will make a response to that objection. So once you hear an attorney make an objection, do not respond. Okay? All right. That objection will be sustained. Defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Was it your impression that until something illegal occurred, nothing could be done?
Correct.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
State?
So that document was is filed in July of 2019.
I believe so.
So, the custody order initially came out in 2010 for Madison.
Yes,
Is that
that's
right?
correct.
So help the jury understand, what was it about July of 2019 that caused you to seek child support from Amanda?
Well, at first when we moved, I wasn't too worried about it. Just me having my daughter was enough. As she gets older, you know, you should get paid child support for taking care of a child. During that first year or two when we moved out there, her mom would sometimes mention, "Hey, I'll help you when I can." I know she doesn't have a lot of money. I don't even know if she works. So the chances of me getting child support, obviously it took me a long time I still get nothing. But it kind of just became where, hey, I got to do this. And I can't take her word for maybe promising to do something later. And that's where it came about. And that's when I went through the long, extraneous motion to get that done. And it was an ordeal. So.
And when you filed that modification for child support, what were you hoping would happen?
I just want her to pay her minimal child support. Obviously, children are not cheap. So, and I was a single father while now I'm married, but that was a big part of the reason our expenses went up in Houston. We got a much nicer home, so costs were much higher. So it was kind of a must.
And how many children were living with you at the time?
Just my daughter and my stepdaughter.
Okay. And you were here in Bear County, or you were still in Houston
I was in Cyprus.
in 2019? Okay, that's right. Did you ever talk to Madison about this child support modification?
I mean, she was aware of it. Yeah. I made it very clear her mom is not helping out. And so.
And help me understand, you answered to defense counsel that if something illegal happened, what was the consequence you thought would happen?
I'm sorry.
Defense counsel asked you were under the assumption that something would happen if something illegal happened.
Well, I could maybe notify CPS or something like that. Was basically my intention if that were happening.
So if there was something illegal happening, would that have in any way affected the child support order?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how often was Madison seeing Amanda in 2019?
Not at all.
When you say not at all, do you mean zero?
Yeah, I don't think she saw it all that year.
Okay. So
maybe the beginning. I think the last time on that spring break trip, it might have been 2018. Could have been 2019, but she wasn't seeing her after that spring break trip.
So was there any reason for you to even call CPS in 2019?
No, she wasn't even seeing her, so no.
Okay.
This was back when when I lived here in Bear County.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Just briefly, Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Keeney, just a minute ago, you said that you filed for the child support. You said after you got married and moved? to
Yeah,
your
we had
house?
already moved, I believe.
So when you were a single father, you didn't ask for more child support.
But she was watching her every other.
My question is, when you were a single father, did you ask for more child support? Yes or no?
No,
When you got married, had another child, moved into a new house, you asked for child
I
support.
didn't have another child.
I'm sorry, so you already had this child?
We were together in Bear County, my wife and I at the time. We've been together multiple years before that.
Okay, so before moving to Houston, you were together?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got married in San Antonio. We were married before that.
And what year were you married?
I want to say 2017, 2015, around there. I should know that, but I've been married 9 years, so
Maybe closer to 2014?
yeah, it's 2015, 2014, somewhere around there.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, any other questions?
Just to be clear, to your knowledge, was Amanda living with Wardell Lemon in 2019?
Yes,
She was.
yes.
And to your knowledge, was Amanda making money or Wardell making money?
To my knowledge, I don't think either of them had a job, so I don't know how they made money.
Okay.
I have no clue.
I'll stop you there. So if your goal is to collect child support, would there be any motivation for Wardell Lemon to get arrested?
I don't see why or how.
Thank you.
I could care less. I just wanted my daughter taken care of.
Thank you. No more questions.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused or subject to recall?
He's excused, Your Honor, from
Excuse from the state.
All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. You're only allowed to speak to attorneys for the state or the defense. Do you understand? All right, you may step down. State, who's your next witness?
Your Honor, the state calls Madison King.
All right, Deputy Laura. All right, if you'll take a seat here. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, if you'll have a seat. If you'll state your name for the record and be sure to keep your voice up so the court reporter can hear and the jurors can hear.
Madison King,
All right. Okay. Hi, Madison. How old are you today?
16,
And what grade are you in?
about to be a junior.
Okay. What classes are you taking?
As far as curricular,
Yeah, in school. Well, I guess it's summer, right? So what classes did you take in the past semester?
I took all the English, world history, geometry, principles of health. And then one of my classes were track and cross country.
Okay. And are you planning to take any AP classes in the coming school year?
Yes.
How many?
I'm doing English and then world history.
Okay. And you said you do track?
Yes.
Do you do any other extracurriculars? Madison, who is your father?
Justin.
Right, and who is your mother? What's her name?
Amanda.
When was the last time you saw your mother?
4 or 5 years ago, maybe.
Do you remember how old you were?
Sorry, I'm just.
And do you know anybody by the name of Wardell Lemon?
Yes,
How do you know him?
he's my mother's boyfriend.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Mhm.
You can, if you would, identify him by an article of clothing.
White shirt, bow tie, and blue pants.
A tie or a bow tie?
Tie.
I'll ask the record reflect that she's identified the defendant, Wardell Lemon. How long have you known Wardell?
As long as I've been going over to my mom's house.
Do you remember how young you were when you started going to your mom's house? Were you in elementary school?
Yes, ma'am.
How often would you go there?
Every other weekend.
And Who else lived in the house with them?
Just them two.
When you would go there, would you have your own room?
Yes.
And can you help the jury understand what kind of building, or was it an apartment, a house?
It was a house. It was more of like a townhouse. There was one on each side.
Okay. And how many bedrooms were there?
3.
When you would go on the weekends, would you get dropped off there? How would you get there?
They would meet my mom and then my grandma would take me.
Okay. Where did you go to elementary school? Okay.
I went to elementary school here and then we moved to Houston and I went from, I believe, 4th grade to 5th grade. I think.
So let's go back. Okay, so what year were you born?
2007.
Okay, so let's see. So what year would you have started elementary school? 2012, 2013? Okay. So around that time, is that when you're saying you would start going to your mom's every other weekend?
Yes.
What kind of things would you do at your mom's house?
Sometimes I would go to work with her or we would go bowling some nights. Most of the time it was just hanging out at the house.
Okay. And who would be there to hang out with?
Wardell and my mom.
Were there times when your mom wasn't at the house, but Wardell was there?
Yes.
How often would that happen?
Usually would just happen when she was at work.
Where did she work?
Follows.
And what is that?
It's a pizza place.
Okay. Restaurant. And what kind of hours would she work?
Usually just like lunch shifts or night shifts in the evening.
And when she was at work, what kind of things would you do with Wardell to stay busy?
Just watch TV.
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
That's all. Just watch TV.
Okay. Would you ever play video games?
Yeah.
What kind of video
Sorry,
games?
just 1 second. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna need you to speak up a little bit so that the jurors can hear, because if you remember the people on the further end, they'll have to be able to hear too, okay? All right, thank you. You may continue.
What kind of video games would you play?
Grand Theft Auto, GTA.
Okay. What game system?
PS5.
Okay.
Or not PS5.
Okay. And where would you play it in the townhome? Like what room?
It was like the game room, or I guess you could say the living room.
The living room? What furniture was in there?
There was a sofa that folded down into a bed. There's 2 of those. And then recently he added like a desk where he had a computer.
Okay. So where would you sit while you were playing video games?
On the sofa that was facing the TV.
Okay. And where would Wardell sit?
Next to me.
And would he be playing video games with you?
Sometimes, yes.
Did you ever do other things with Wardell?
No.
Events or anything outside of the house?
Not as far as I know.
Okay. Did y'all ever watch sports together?
Yes.
What kind of sports?
Basketball games.
Okay. What did you call him? Did you call him Wardell or did you have a nickname for him?
I call him Buddy.
Buddy? Did you, I mean, did you enjoy your time with Wardell or with Buddy?
No,
How late would you watch TV or play video games?
I would say like 10:30, 11, maybe the latest.
And was this a typical time when your mom would be working?
Yes.
Was there ever a time where you said usually Wardell would sit next to you on the couch? Were there ever times you would sit in any other position on the couch?
Just when he moved me on top of him.
When you say on top of him, what do you mean?
He would sit me on top of his lap.
Okay. Now, when do you remember that he started doing that?
There's not like a certain time.
Did it happen more than once where he would sit you on his lap? And was it something that commonly happened or rarely happened?
Commonly.
Was it his idea? Was it generally his idea or your idea?
His.
And when you were sitting on his lap, would y'all continue watching TV and playing video games?
Yes.
When he first started doing it, did you think anything of it?
No.
Why not?
When I remember him doing it, it just felt normal because it happened so often.
Was there a time when he started maybe doing something that felt more uncomfortable?
Just when he started touching me.
Now, where was the first place he touched you? Just on your body?
The first place he touched me was my stomach, where it started.
Okay. And did he ever talk to you about touching you on your stomach?
No.
And how would he touch you on your stomach?
He would just place his hand there and then slowly just move down.
Okay. Now, eventually, did that become a common thing for him to do?
Yes.
You said he would move down. Would his hand start going lower?
Yes.
And so how soon, you said 2013 is when you started going on the weekends. How soon after that did you notice his hand would go on your stomach and then start going lower?
As much as I remember going over them.
So would you say anything when his hand would start to go lower?
No.
How did you feel?
Guilty in a way.
You felt guilty? Why?
That I wasn't doing anything to stop it.
Would he say anything to you?
No.
Now, after you said he would slowly over time move his hand lower, was there a time when, well, how low did his hand get?
To the bottom of my private part.
And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to get you to specify a little bit. When you say the bottom of your private part, do you mean what part of him was touching what part of you?
His hand, his fingers would touch as far as where your people would be.
Okay. And when he would, kind of going back, when he started on your stomach and went lower, would he go over your underwear or under?
Under.
Did he ever go over your underwear?
Sometimes, yes.
How long did he touch you down there?
I don't know.
Do you remember how old you were?
No.
Did you ever tell your mother?
No.
Did you ever do anything to stop it from happening?
Once I started realizing it was happening, I tried to remove myself from him
And how did you do that?
by distracting him, saying something to him to where I could not sit on top of his lap and just sit beside him.
How would he respond when you would do that?
He usually just let me get off of him.
Why didn't you tell anybody when it was happening?
I still wanted a relationship with my mom.
And what were you afraid would happen if you told?
That I would get in trouble.
So going back to the incident where he put his hand all the way under your underwear, in the part where you could pee from. Which hand did he have down? Which hand was it?
His left.
Do you remember what you were wearing?
No.
Would you hear anything when he did this?
No.
Do you remember the feeling of being on his lap? What you felt?
I could just feel his hand slowly going down.
How were you? You said you were on his lap. How far up on his lap were you?
I would say like mid-thigh.
Okay. How late would your mom work?
I don't remember.
Do you remember when you stopped going for the weekends? About how old you were?
No, not necessarily. No.
Okay. Do you remember how old you were when you went to Houston or when you moved to Cyprus?
I believe it was 4th grade.
Okay. So what grade are you in now? You're gonna be a junior, right?
Yes. ma'am.
So do the math. How many years was that ago? 11 minus 4, 7 years ago?
Mhm.
Okay. So 9 years old?
Around there,
About?
yes.
Okay. So about 2016. Okay, so if I'm following correctly, it was around 2013 to 2016 is when you were going over on the weekends.
Yes.
And do you recall how close in time, the incident where he went all the way down to your private, how close in time that was to when you stopped going over there?
No.
Now, before when he went all the way down with his hand, and he would just kind of go lower, how would he hold his hand lower? Like, how long would he just hold his hand there?
He would just set it there for 5 minutes, maybe.
Okay. Did you know it was wrong at the time?
Yes.
Okay. Were there any other things you would do to shield yourself from him when you would go over there?
Just trying to avoid him, avoid being close to him to where he can get to that point.
Okay. Now do you remember when you first told an adult what happened?
Yes.
How old were you?
Was 7th grade.
Okay. Would that have been 2019?
Yes.
Had you seen your mother in 2019?
No.
Who did you tell?
Stepmom.
And why did you tell her?
She felt like the person that I can trust and own to tell.
Where were you when you told her?
We had just gotten out of the car walking into the store.
Remember what store?
Target.
What did you tell her?
I told her that Wardell touches me.
And who was with her, if anyone?
Me, her, and my stepsister.
What's your stepsister's name?
Addison.
How old is she?
She's now 13.
So she was little. Um, In 2019, did you want your mom in your life?
In that moment, no.
Why not?
I knew that she wasn't a good mother to me.
Did you ever try telling your mom what happened?
No,
Did you ever reach out to your mom after you told your stepmom what happened?
no.
Okay. Um. When you were on, well, let me ask you this. Do you know how many times Wardell put you on his lap?
No.
Was it more than 5?
Yes.
When you're sitting on his lap, could you ever feel anything about his body?
I could just feel his knee in between my legs.
Did you ever see anything about his body?
No.
Did you ever look at him when he was touching you?
No.
Did you ever talk to him about it?
No.
Do you ever remember telling anyone that he was creepy or
Yes.
anything like that? What was it about him? Was it because he was touching you or was there something else?
I object to leading.
Sustained.
Why did you think he was creepy?
Because of what he's done to me.
Madison, do you have any other, I know you have your stepsister. Do you have any other siblings?
Just a baby sister.
Baby sister? Is that with your dad?
Yes.
What about your mom? Do you have any half siblings with your mom?
Yes.
How many?
Just one.
Do you have any relationship with them?
No.
Would you ever like to have a relationship with them?
No.
I'll pass it, Mr. Honor.
Defense.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good morning, Madison. My name is Leo Gonzalez. I represent Wardell Lemon. I'm gonna ask you a few questions, okay? If you don't understand my question, you can ask me to repeat my question, okay? And just make sure that you get an answer so the court reporter can get it down, okay? Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Now, Madison, you said you're going to be a junior,
Yes.
and at what school?
Brian Steele High School,
I'm sorry,
Steele High School.
Steele High School, okay. And have you been at Steele for the last 2 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What school did you go to in middle school? I guess a better question is, was that here in San Antonio or in Houston?
In Houston.
Okay. And have you always been in high school here in the San Antonio area?
Yes.
You said that you're taking, I guess you took honors classes last year?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned track as an extracurricular. You doing any other extracurricular activities?
No.
Just track?
And cross country.
Okay. Which is more long distance track, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you done that the whole time in high school?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Have you done that the whole time in high school?
Yes.
Competed in track?
Yes.
Okay. What events do you do?
I do the 800, 400, and then 1600.
You pretty good?
I'd like to say so.
Okay. Have you always been involved in athletics?
Yes.
In middle school too?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of athletics were you in?
Track and cross country.
Okay. No other athletics?
No.
Any other extracurriculars in middle school?
I did orchestra, I think 7th grade.
Did you play, violin, viola, one of those?
Viola.
Okay. And just in 7th grade?
Yes.
Okay. Any other extracurriculars you did when you were younger?
No.
Any other sports that you did when you were younger?
No.
When did you start playing sports?
7th grade.
7th grade. I guess that was for school. Did you have play any sports outside of school?
No.
No. Okay. And 7th grade would have been 4 years ago?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember how old, I think you were asked this question already, how old you were when you first started going over to your mom's house?
No.
Okay. Do you recall being real little? Do you recall being in school?
I recall being in school, and as far as I remember, I was little.
Okay. And when you would go, did you always go to the same house?
Yes.
And where was that?
The house that they currently live at.
Okay. And the house that they currently live at, that's the house that they've lived at this whole time?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. So their residence hasn't changed.
Yes.
Okay. Have you kept track of what's going on with them in their lives? Like it's not moving, working, things like that?
No.
Okay. But you do know that they still live at that address?
Yes.
So when you first started going over there, it must have been, I guess, a little different to all of a sudden have somebody else in your house. You had Wardell at the house, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How did you first get along with him?
I really don't remember meeting him, but
I guess I know you might not remember meeting him because you were young, but how did you get along with him when you first started going over there?
fine.
Okay. Did y'all hang out and do stuff together, you, Wardell, and your mom?
Yes.
What kind of stuff did you do?
We would all hang out together, order in food, bowl.
Y'all like to play games, apparently, like video games?
Yes.
How did y'all end up on Grand Theft Auto, like as far as for the game that y'all played regularly?
That's what he would pick.
Okay. Did you ever tell him you didn't want to play that game?
No.
Did you like playing that game?
Yes.
Okay. And so to a certain extent, you did enjoy your time with Wardell, playing video games, hanging out.
When it didn't get to touching me, yes.
But my question is, you did enjoy hanging out with him. Right?
Yes.
And there was a good period of time where you would play video games, according to you, even while you were sitting on his lap.
Yes.
Um, you said, how often would you go and spend time at your mom's?
Every other weekend.
Okay, so when you say every other weekend, tell me like, when would you get there? What day?
Saturday,
Okay, and then leave when?
Sunday morning, evening.
Okay, so basically you were there for like 24 hours, maybe?
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yes.
And that was a few weeks a year? Because it was every other weekend?
Yes.
Um, were there times that you didn't go over there just because of stuff with with living with your dad where you couldn't go over there or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, what other stuff would be going on?
I don't remember.
When you were there hanging out at the house with your mom and Wardell, there was times when your mom was at the house, right?
Yes.
Okay, so she didn't work every time you were there at the house.
No.
And in fact, sometimes when she did work, she took you to work with her.
Yes.
And so there were times you were not at home with Wardell, you were at work with your mom.
Yes, but most times I was left.
Okay, but there were times, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then also, were there times that Wardell would go with y'all to your mom's work
He would drop us two off at work.
and then go back home?
Yes.
Or at least leave, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, earlier you were asked about when things changed. When do you remember how old you were when that something happened that things changed between you and Wardell?
I don't remember.
And
Just one moment.
yes, Judge.
Sorry. Does anyone need a slight break? I noticed a lot of movement over there in the creaky chairs. All right, so I'm going to give you all a short break. And we can come back at 11:40. Is that enough time for everyone? All right, you've heard some evidence in this case. You're not allowed to start deliberating in your mind with yourself or with each other. I'll let you know when it's time to deliberate. If you see anything or somebody tries to ask you something about this case, don't respond, don't look at it. You're not allowed to do any investigation of your own. Everything that you need to know about this case is to come from inside the courtroom. Does everyone understand? All right, so what will end up happening is don't come back in the courtroom, go back to the jury room, and Deputy Laura will come and get you at 11:40. All right, everyone, please rise.
here too?
Yes. All right, the court is calling 2020 CR 2544, State of Texas versus Victor James Shepherd. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Garahan, Your Honor.
Defense?
Linda Corley for Mr. Shepherd.
Are you Mr. Shepherd? I'm going to show you what's entitled Motion to Enter Adjudication of Guilt and Revoke Community Supervision and State's Motion to Enter Adjudication of Guilt and Revoke Probation. Did you review those documents with your attorney? Did you understand them? Are you the same Victor James Shepherd who was placed on deferred adjudication and cause number 2020 CR 2544 for the offense of possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 2, 4 grams to 400 grams on October 22nd, 2020 for a term of 4 years? Is that you? State?
Yes, Your Honor. Violated condition number 1 on or about the 25th day of July 2022 in Bexar County, Texas. The defendant Victor James Shepherd committed the offense of burglary of a vehicle or vehicles and violation condition number 1.
How do you plead to that? True or not true?
Your Honor, we'll waive the remaining violated condition.
Any objections?
No objections.
Did you understand by pleading true to violation of condition number 1, the court could find it true, grant the motion, find you guilty, sentence you up to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine? You need to speak up. Knowing that, do you still wish to plead true to violation of condition number 1? Court will find violation of condition number 1 true. Is there an agreement?
Yes, there is, Your Honor.
And what is the agreement?
This is deny to continue the individual on his deferred adjudication, extend for 2 years, and alter and amend for the local ISF number 2 program for 120 to 180 days. Add a theft class. And also evaluate for ISP unit for home compliance checks and visits.
Okay.
And Deshaun actually added report in person after the ISF weekly for 60 days, Your Honor. And the state will take into consideration clause number 689, 685, which is the burglary of the vehicle, and restitution, if any, to that victim by the name of Ricardo Torres.
All right. Defense, do you understand that to be the agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you asking the court to follow that agreement?
We are, Judge.
And are you asking the court to follow that agreement? Are you waiving your right to appeal? Do you understand if the court follows this agreement, you're going to be taken into custody today? If you're drug tested today, whatever the results will be. All right. Then the court will find violation of condition number 1 true, deny the motion, alter and amend conditions to include local ISF, extend you for 2 years. There's to be CATs 1 and 2. You're going to report in person weekly for 60 days. Take in consideration 689, 685, and there's to be restitution, if any, to Ricardo Torres. And I'm going to do a referral to felony drug court as well. And that will be while in custody. And you're asking for ISP as well?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
All right, and then you're going to be under ISP. Is there anything else you need from the court in order to be successful? From here on out, I know you've heard this from me before. Everything that you do, you need to ask yourself, could this result in me going to prison for 20 years? If the answer is yes, don't do it. If the answer is maybe, don't do it. If you have an issue with drug use, or you feel something's not being addressed that could help you be successful on probation, talk to probation. If they are not addressing it, you can come to the court. You understand? All right, thank you. And Deputy Lord, could you make sure you hold on to him for this afternoon so that Bashan can go over conditions? Thank you.
I'll call you mom. I'm sorry about that. Thank you for fitting that in, Judge.
Oh, you're welcome. And everyone, after we finish with this witness, we're going to take our recess and then we'll be back at 1:30. All right. And if you'll give that to the clerk, they'll file stamp it and then give you a copy if you wish to have a copy. You're welcome.
Ready for the jury, Judge?
Yes, we're ready.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Thank you. I know no one wants to really come back in the afternoon if they don't have to,
I'll be here.
not to this super hot courtroom.
Mhm.
They're looking for parts. We don't, just so everyone knows, they said they're outsourcing for parts.
Oh, my God.
So you know that means we're not going to have AC. Right?
Where are they looking for parts?
No one knows.
On the roads and the street?
Right, everyone, please be seated. And defense, I believe it's, you
Thank-
are still on cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, Madison, you were asked earlier about elementary school. You went to elementary school here for a few years and then elementary school in Houston.
Yes.
Okay, do you remember the names of your elementary school?
No.
Did you go to the same one, like in the first grades that you went to elementary school here, did you go to the same one? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if you understand my question there.
Yes.
Okay. So you went to the same one those first couple of years?
Yes.
And then when you went to elementary school in Houston, was the same school?
Yes.
Okay. You said that you were asked about not saying anything or not to anybody about what happened. You were worried you might get in trouble.
Yes.
Why did you think you would get in trouble?
I felt guilty and felt that it was my fault. That I wasn't stopping it happening to me.
Now, do you remember the last time that you had seen Wardell?
No.
Would it be sometime before you moved to Houston?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I think we've kind of landed on 2015, 2016 of being the time you moved to Houston.
Yes.
Okay. So, for 3 years or so, you didn't see him at all until you told somebody about what happened.
Yes.
During that 3-year period, I guess that would have been middle school, huh?
Yes.
Thereabouts.
Yes.
How were your grades in middle school?
Good.
And did you ever get in trouble?
Small things. Yes.
I mean, kids get in trouble, right?
Yes.
What kind of things did you get in trouble for? Let me help you. Like, I have a teenager, so I have an expectation of kind of things you would get in trouble for. Not cleaning your room.
Yep.
Not listening, I guess, for certain things to do or asked to do.
Yes.
Maybe school stuff every now and then.
Yes.
So normal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing serious, right?
No.
You have a good relationship with your dad and your stepmom?
Yes.
And normal stuff between you and your stepsister and your baby sister?
Yes.
Are you close with your baby sister?
Very.
When we talk baby sister, how little is she?
She's not really a baby. She's, I believe, two.
2?
2.5.
So she would have been born sometime in 2021, is that right?
Yes.
That day that you talked about with Ms. Mitchell about the what had happened to you, you said you were at a Target
Yes.
with your stepmom.
Yes.
What had y'all been doing during that day?
I don't recall as much as that day, but I know from when I decided to tell her, we were on the topic of my mother, and that's when I decided to tell her what had happened.
Do you remember how you got onto the topic of your mother?
No.
Did you know, like, did they ever tell you things were going on, like court stuff between your mom and your dad?
No.
Did you ever know that there was still ongoing things between them? As far as for court stuff, filings, and did they ever let you know that, hey, we may have to go to court for this kind of stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware that there was kind of stuff going on during this time?
Yes.
Okay. During this time, how were things at the house, at your house?
Normal.
Normal, okay. That day, you talked to your mom, and at some point later on, you talked to the police, is that right?
Yes.
Did you talk to a police officer, or did a police officer talk to somebody other than you?
The police officer and my stepmom talked.
To you?
No.
So the police officer talked to your mom,
Yes.
but you never talked to the police officer?
As far as I know, no.
Okay. So you don't remember saying anything to a police officer at all?
No.
Okay. All right. And then at some point after the police came, and you know who it was that you talked to? I mean, that came to the house? What police department or anything like that?
No.
Okay. And that's something you probably wouldn't keep track of at your age, right? And you wouldn't. And they never asked you any questions and never said, hey, we want to find out more about what happened?
I just, the only thing I can remember is just them like wanting a basic of what happened. That's all I really.
From you?
Yes, that's all I really can remember.
Okay. Do you remember talking to them, I guess generally, that it had happened in your room?
No.
Okay. Or did you ever tell anybody it happened in your room?
No.
Okay. You remember after you talked to the police that they had you do an interview with somebody else, what they called a child forensic interviewer,
Yes.
and I guess a child advocacy center.
Yes.
Did they come to you? You go to them? How does that work?
I went to them.
Okay. And this was in Houston?
Yes.
You remember telling that person that it would happen when you'd wake up early and go to the living room?
Yes.
Okay. And you remember telling them that after your parents had talked to you about stuff like this happening, is when you decided to say something about this?
Yes.
You remember also saying he wouldn't go very far down?
Yes.
Do you remember telling them that your mom and dad were fighting during this time?
No.
Okay. There was a lot of yelling at the house during that time?
No.
Okay. When you were discussing parents talking to you about stuff like this, which parent are you referring to?
My dad and my stepmom.
So together?
Yes.
And was it that they came to the topic to talk about stuff like this?
They heard that a lot of things were going on around in the area, and they wanted to let us know that if something or anybody was touching us, that we could tell them.
Did they ever say, hey, if anything ever happened with Wardell or Buddy, it's okay to tell us?
Yes.
Yeah. When you were around, I guess early on, and you're around your dad and then sometimes around Wardell and your mom, did there seem to be tension between everybody? Did you sense? Did you get a feeling that maybe your dad didn't like Wardell?
Yes.
Did you feel that even when you were younger?
Yes.
Do you still feel that now?
Yes.
Now, I know that you may be different regarding what you've said, but prior to even saying anything, did you feel that there was a tense relationship?
I wouldn't say it was tense. My dad didn't like him.
Did he express that to you?
Yes.
Did he express it to you on numerous occasions or a few?
You.
Let me ask you this, when
May continue.
let me ask you this, just when you found out you were going to move back to this area, how did you feel?
I felt scared that I might run into my mom or him or have to face one of them.
Okay. And you would say though, since you come back here, you flourish. You're a pretty good student. You're a good athlete. You've done pretty well, right?
Yes.
And earlier, just to make sure I understood you correctly, you don't remember what age you were when this first happened, correct?
No.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
State.
Yes, Charlie. Madison, you just said that you were scared you might run into your mom. Why were you scared of that? I was scared that she or speaking out about what happened. Has your mom reached out to you? Yes, she's tried. When has she reached out to you? She's sent a message, I would say a year, maybe 2 years ago, trying to say happy birthday to me. Did you respond? No. Why not? I no longer want that contact. How did it make you feel that your mom stayed with Wardell? I felt betrayed. Felt like as her daughter. Look at my son. You said she reached out to say happy birthday. Did she ever reach out to see like how you were doing? No. Do you recall ever stating whether or not you felt an erection? Did you feel something like that with Wardell? If you can remember. You said that you were aware of, I think defense counsel termed it court things. What exactly were you aware of at the time that in 2019 when this outcry came out? What do you mean? So in 2019, well, is 2019 when you told your stepmom? Yes. Were you aware in that moment that there were like some court things going on? Yes. Okay. What were you aware of? I was aware that we were going to be taking him to court. Do you know for what? Did that play in any way into your decision to finally tell what happened? No. So why did you wait until then to say something? In that moment when I told her, is felt like I felt like that was the moment I needed to speak up. Had there been more discussions of your mom around that time than normal? Yes. Had you ever told anyone else? No. When your dad and your stepmom would talk to you about sexual abuse, when I guess when would that conversation or when did that conversation happen? That conversation got brought up when, like I said before, when they were talking about people not being allowed to touch you, anybody not being allowed to touch you. Okay. But do you remember how old you were when they had that discussion with you? And who was it that asked you if anything had happened with Wardell? It was my mom, my stepmom. Your stepmom. And when did she ask you that? When we were in the car on the way. Okay. So how, I guess, help me understand how that, how it got to be that question. So you didn't offer that information, she asked you? She didn't necessarily ask me, but she kind of just told me, if he's ever done anything to you, you can tell me. And I decided that I shouldn't hold him. Okay. What was her reaction when you told her? She just dropped into tears. And she hugged me and told me that it was gonna work. I noticed you refer to your mom and stepmom kind of the same. Do you call your stepmom mom? Yes. Are you close to her? Yes. Do you consider her like a mom? Yes.
State, any other questions?
Yes, one more. Do you know why your mom stayed with Wardell after these allegations came out?
Object, cause for speculation.
Sustained.
Did you ever hide from Wardell when you were over there?
I wouldn't necessarily say hide, but I did try to avoid him.
Okay. Did your room have a door on it?
Yes,
Okay. Would you do anything in your room to avoid him?
I would just try and not be in contact with him.
Okay. Did you have a cell phone around this time when you were going over there?
No,
Because you would have been young, right? So let's see, 6 to 9 years old. Did you mentioned touching, just to be clear, was there any penetration? Okay. Did he ever have you touched any part of his body?
no,
And when he put his hand over your private part, did he move it? Did he move it around? How was his hand on your private?
he would slowly move it, but then I would just kind of stay.
Did you ever notice any? Okay, can you repeat that?
He wouldn't really move his hand back and forth, but it would just kind of sit there.
Okay. And did you ever notice anything about his breathing? How would you feel? What was going through your mind when he touched you like that?
I mean, I just kind of felt sick to my stomach, knowing that it was happening to me. And it's not much really to think about it.
Did you ever push your hand back? Or push his hand back?
Yes,
How many times did you do that?
usually it was only once I pushed his hand off of me. He remained off.
Okay. Donna, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm gonna hand you what's been labeled. Oh, it's introduced in state's exhibit number 1. Is that you?
Yes,
How old were you in this picture? Do you know?
no,
Is that your doll?
yes,
What kind of doll is it?
an American Bulldog.
Did you collect those?
I just had one.
Do you remember how old you were when you got it?
No.
I know for the questions.
Defense?
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Madison, during this time that you would go and visit your mom in Wardell, did you have like a tablet or any kind of electronic device you'd watch stuff on?
I had a tablet, yes.
Do you remember something called a Blueberry video?
Yes,
What was that?
the YouTube video.
Do you remember what it had?
It was sort of like a skit, like a funny video.
Okay. Did you show that video quite a few times to Wardell?
Yes,
And regularly?
yes,
Was it one of your favorites?
yes,
And it's something you wanted to share with him?
yes,
And you would come to him and show him the video?
yes.
Were there times where he would kind of seem annoyed and tell you to, hey, I don't want to watch it or leave me alone? Or would he always watch it?
I don't remember.
Okay. But you do remember taking to him probably more than 10 times?
Yes,
You said you watched basketball games when you were younger and you'd hang out with him. Any particular team that y'all would watch?
The Spurs.
Okay.
And the Golden State Warriors.
Okay. Were you a Spurs fan?
Yes.
Are you still a Spurs fan?
No,
What are you a fan of now?
I don't really watch sports anymore.
Okay. You remember a time that y'all were at arcade and they asked you when Wardell was wearing a Spurs jersey and you wanted to have one of your own,
Yes,
and you made them get you your own Spurs jersey.
yes,
So you wanted to share something with him.
not necessarily with him, but
I'll pass with Nisha.
Madison, given that you were so young, did you in a way consider Wardell as a father figure in your life?
when I was over at my mom's house, yes,
And did that in any way play into why it took you so long to tell?
yes.
No more questions, Your Honor.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Excuse from the state, Your Honor.
Excuse, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state of defense. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our lunch break at this time. There are plenty of places downtown for you to go to lunch, although I will tell you, it's extremely hot and humid outside. But there is an HEB and there are other locations that are on Houston Street. And of course, there's the cafeteria downstairs. And I believe right across the street where the cathedral is, they have a restaurant inside there as well. And then you have I guess they're called little kiosks that are in the area of the cathedral where they have different items there as well. So we will be back here at 1:30. So that'll give you a chance to walk someplace if you choose to and deal with the heat and come back refreshed. Remember my instructions. You're not allowed to deliberate in your own head about what you think, nor with each other. You're not allowed to do any research. If you're going to be walking around the courthouse, make sure the badges are visibly displayed so everyone will know you're on the jury, because sometimes attorneys talk about different cases, not necessarily this one, but others. Do not do any investigation. Everything that you need to know about this case is to come from inside the courtroom. Does everyone understand? All right, so we'll be back at 1:30.